Hello, and thank you so much for joining us on Just Here Live this evening. As usual, we talk about very serious societal issues, and today we'll be beaming a spotlight on women thriving in business. What are those hindrances, and how have women fared? Are there legislations that can help them? What is that one thing that can be done to ensure that this force, everybody recognizes the force that women bring to everything? So how can we leverage and harness this force for the development we often talk about? Look at our economy at the moment and GDP. Inflation is skyrocketing. We read recently that we had a 27.3 all-time high. When it comes to inflation, our purchasing power is just as low. So it now behoves on the women to do what they can. Do they have that magic? Well, that's what we'll be discussing on today's edition of Joy Asonye Live. And in the studio to do justice to this is Ijeoma Ndulue. I hope I got that right. I did some practice before we got on air. We have Ndulue, CEO, Jesney Farms. We also have a regular, if you remember, our own Edith. Edith, is so wonderful to see you. I mean, I thought you jackpot.
I did for a few months.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Ladies, it's good to have you join us and to talk about this very important topic, especially because both of you are in business and you are, our number one women advocate, championing the cause for equality and all of that. Well, it promises to be a very interesting one. So after this short break, we'll get into the crux of the matter. Stay with us. This is still Joy Asonye Live. Well, still talking about the challenges women face and what stops them from thriving in business. I think we'll just start from Edith. Edith, again, I'm welcome to the country.
Thank you. Welcome back.
It's good to have you back. Let's start with you. I mean, what often happens? I read a report that talked about women in business. It talked, first of all, the business environment in Nigeria, how hostile it often is to entrepreneurs, and then women even do worse because of several other challenges. But when you look at Nigeria and the efforts of government and the business environment, what would your take be as to the reason why women are not thriving as much as they have the potentials to?
Well, I mean, the list is long, right?
I'm sure
I mean, you cannot parse it out in one sitting. So many different reasons why things are not working the way that they should. Of course, our usual suspect, government. Policies are not there that support entrepreneurs, that support entrepreneurship, because we have this dynamic where everything is government. We over-rely on government. But I guess there is a reason for that, right? Because government is supposed to create an enabling environment so that businesses can thrive in order for the country to develop. And it's even worse for women because of, various reasons. We don't have the financial capacity. We don't have the financial capacity to be able to support ourselves. The culture does not really give women the chance to do business on a large scale, on a higher scale. And then, of course, the general overall competition, and then, again, repeating myself, the enabling environment to be able to successfully do business and accomplish different benchmarks and levels to be able to, successfully lead a business.
Okay. I think I'll take the conversation to Ms. Ndulue. What would your response be to looking at the business environment? What is that hindrance? What's that clog that's not making us move?
Okay. For women in business, like I always tell people, when you look at the when you look at business in Nigeria, and then we're looking at the small-scale businesses, micro businesses, women make over 40% of business owners. Ownership of business in Nigeria and Africa. Women I can comfortably say we have about 42% of women in business owning their own businesses. So I think we've done really well. I know we have challenges, unique challenges, especially here in Nigeria. You know, the environment, culture, family values and stuff like that, and also their own what will I call it now, their role in families,
dynamics,
you know, and financing too, you know, could be a hindrance. But despite that, having 40 to 42% of women owning, not being in business alone, but owning their business is a plus for Nigerian women. So I don't want to see the challenges. They're there.
You're seeing...
I'm seeing the positivity for women in Africa and Nigeria. And I think we are doing so far good, despite the challenges in Nigeria. So yes, we are doing well.
Okay, let's get to basics, Edith. I mean, we have about 20, so many children out of school at the moment. And when you look at that very dire statistics of the number of children we have out of school, I know reports have it different. We have the 28 million children out of school. But let's work with that statistics. That's already very concerning. And then within the 28, there's a 70% of that number the girl child. And so where would you say we have she's commending where the Nigerian woman has gotten to when it comes to business, but where have we gotten that entrepreneurial and leadership basics that is often needed in business?
Well, I have to say, that's what I love about Ijeoma. She always sees the glass half full, and not, you know, instead of half empty. So for me, it's like a fight or flight kind of situation, right? We have been put in a position where we have to thrive. We have to do it, you know. If we were to sit and wait for someone else to do it, then we would be in worse situation than we are in right now. So regardless of whether we have formal education or not, we still have to do it. There's still the expectation that it has to be done.
Exactly.
Otherwise, who's going to take care of our children? Who's going to feed our families? Right? So, and I think that's something that is common with women globally, because any society you go to, you'll find that this is the situation for a lot of women, especially in the economically, if I may use that phrase, economically challenged society.
Exactly.
You know, it's one of those situations where if you don't get up and do it, then your situation is going to be worse than it already is. So women have a tendency to be the ones to stand up and say, you know what, I have to do it. Whatever it takes, I have to do it. So whether you see a woman walking 10 kilometers, 20, 50 kilometers in order to get something done,
like
she will do it.
See, I mean, everybody knows that one woman.
Yes.
Everybody has that one woman who has to do that.
Yes.
I mean, in our environment, they are always there.
Yeah.
And of course, they seem to show more resilience.
Yes.
Exactly.
However, you know, a lot of them also carry so much
weight on them.
Yes, there's so much weight on them from the family.
Exactly.
How are we able? I need to suck myself into this dragnet now. How are we able to manage it all and not break down? Because when you see the many challenges that the woman faces, especially with our entrepreneurial space, it seems like the man often believes, oh, you're already doing business, you should bring food, you know, and she's forced to do that for the family. She will have to get into her business to fend for her children, because I mean, you won't let them go hungry now, would you? Okay,
so for the woman, just like Sister Edith rightly mentioned, is either fight or flight, you know. And you see a woman go out there, she's doing her business, and she keeps her problem in the house.
Yeah,
she's sick, she's out there, but a man falls sick, all business shut down. He's sick. But a woman is thinking, if I don't do this, my children aren't going to feed. You know, it's resting on my shoulder to do this. So they keep their problems, keep their challenges at home and then go out there and fight with your family. And I think it's something that's natural with a woman. You know, somebody said something. He said, when God created man, he created the woman to help the man. And for you to be a helpmeet, you must have more capacity on the inside of you to help somebody. That for you to help somebody, that means you have more capacity on the inside of you to help that person
better.
Exactly. So that's why you see the woman have the womb. A man cannot carry a child and give. He's going to break down. In fact, he's going to die in the process. But we have that capacity to hold pain, to hold our grief, to hold, you know, different things at the same time. We are multitasking women. We can do 3, 4, 10 things at a time, but a man wants to focus on something.
Exactly.
So because of that capacity, I think it gives a woman a better standing to do business better than men. I'm not saying men don't do business, you know, but it gives us better, you know, we think ahead, we see ahead, we check. Men, they are, you know, just like somebody described men and women in business and said a woman is like a tortoise. You're moving, you're seeing the different, you know, you're observing, you're seeing all the nooks, you're seeing the crannies and all. But a man is just like an ego. He just sees the bigger view and okay, this is it, let's go do it. But for a woman, she's checking, okay, how far can I go with this? How can I do this? And that's why you see women are better managers.
Right.
You know, I know we have a little, you know, percentage of women that don't care and don't, but if you check out, most women are good managers at businesses, and that's when they start a business, they succeed at it.
Okay, now let's talk about government interventions over the years. I mean, successive governments have come with several initiatives and programs. Oh, we're going to do this for women and empower them here. You see the wives of governors and politically exposed Nigerians who come up with so many initiatives, giving them. Would you say those programs and initiatives have really worked and there's an impact and it's been efficient?
Well, I mean, maybe they work at the time that they're initiated, at the time they are commissioned. We have a habit of liking the newness of something, right? We don't have that culture of maintenance, of continuation, right? So every successive government that comes, they want to start their own so that they can get their name on something, you know, instead of saying, okay, the previous government started this. How can we better enhance it? How can we add to it? You know, instead you go and you start something completely brand new, and what was already in place is forgotten. Nobody is even talking about it anymore. We start something brand new with brand new people, and we don't, and you know, it's okay to start brand new if you want to, but at least look back on what was already done, learn from what was already done, take the good from what was already done, and make the new thing better. We don't even do that. You understand? We don't know how to continue something because we all want our name on it. We want to be founder of something, creator of, you understand?
And it would have been better if you just sustained that which was already in motion.
Yes.
And so what would be your idea or position as to why those interventions, the many programs, every administration seem to come with their own programs and initiatives, and you don't see appreciable impact on these women?
Well, I agree with what she said. We always want to start or something new. Oh, okay, this person didn't do well, okay, or this is not my government, so I don't want to build on what he has done, so it doesn't look like, oh, it's not your administration that started this, so my name is not written in gold and all that. That's one part. And then another part I'm seeing to this is we don't really put the right people in the right places to handle this project.
Absolutely.
You know, you take a doctor, a medical doctor, and then you put him to go handle an agri project. You know, you take someone that is in the agri sphere, you take him to oil and gas to go handle it. How best do you think he'll do? You know? Naturally, you will not thrive. You wouldn't do so well. So that's the confusion we're seeing in this country. You see somebody, you read his CV, he's very good at this, but you're not putting him in the right. It's just like getting a donkey to go swim. And then you get a shark to go. You don't expect it to work. You know, and you know, sometimes we just do these things so people see, oh, we're doing projects, but truly it's just for the media. It's just to say, hey, this project is out there.
Like they will say in local parlors, initial gra.
Exactly. You know, so just hail them, oh, this project is doing well. Initially it goes up, a few persons benefit, the rest just goes flat, and somebody pockets the rest of the money.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
that's the corruption part I just wanted us to talk about. The corruption part, in spite of the fact that needs assessment is not even done, we often see where these initiatives would now come to people who do not even really need it. They're giving sewing machines to people who have learned how to do shea butter, for instance, and so you are giving I don't think enough is put in. There's no intention, and just so that you have, like we have established, your name out there as having done something. In spite of that, there's the corruption around it. I've already also had conversations with women who say that there are some palliatives that were to come in, but we have an arrangement. You know, arrangement. It wasn't really a palliative. In this case, it was actually a government, what's it called now? Intervention. It was supposed to be for entrepreneurs. They were supposed to give grants or loans or some sort to female entrepreneurs. And there was an arrangement. I will make you get it. Your name will come out. You were supposed to get hypothetically 100,000 naira. But because you know, I'm ensuring your name comes out, I'm going to give you 50,000 naira out of that. You know, we've also had all the corruption that is often around all of this. But how can the Nigerian woman, we know how strong we can be when we want something. How can we stand up against this corruption that is often meted to us, and we look helpless around it?
Well, like Ijeoma said, we put the wrong people in the wrong places on the wrong projects. Like you said, we give them the wrong equipment. You understand? So when you have those dynamics in place, you really can't get anything done. Why? Because that basic knowledge and understanding of that particular project or situation or particular dynamic, at the top, you don't understand it, right? And then let's not continue to blame the people at the top. We, the people, the masses, are also to blame. Why? Because when these people from the top come in, we already know they're doing it for the media attention, right? Or for the moment, to get whatever attention that they want to get, or whatever benefit that they'll get from it, right? But we, the people, we, the masses that are on the ground experiencing this, we follow them. We follow them, we hail them, we're, you know, like this with them. Rarely, in my experience anyway, rarely do you see us holding them accountable.
True.
We don't hold our leaders accountable. It's gotten to the point where it seems like everybody is waiting for their turn to, what's the word, hammer. You know, exactly. or eat the national cake, their share of the national cake.
Exactly.
So as a result, you see a lack of care, courtesy, respect amongst us, the masses. So when we don't even have that collectiveness to hold our leaders accountable, to say, why is a lawyer, you know, leading the agriculture ministry, you know, when he has no experience whatsoever in those things? So how can he even begin to empathize, to understand, in order to be able to do the right thing? And we, the masses, we don't help. So that continues to grow the corruption, because then they can come in and do whatever they want and take whatever they want for the moment. And then at the end of the day, we're still the ones that, you know, are suffering for it. I'll give you an example, or I'll say this. There is no single person that is not corrupt or prejudiced.
Potential or
not even potential. We are.
Exactly.
That is human nature. Okay. Now the thing is, to what level is that happening? An example is in my community in the U.S. One of the politicians, local politicians, we raised money to build a bathroom, a public bathroom at a park. Right. The quote that was given was $2 million to build a public restroom. Right. Wow. So of course, in the moment, everybody was into it. He got the money, built the bathroom, the toilet, only to find out later on that the actual cost of the toilet, to build that public toilet, was a little over $500,000.
I was wondering if he was reading in the air or something. $2 million.
It's
not $2 million.
So do you see what I say when I say we're all to some extent prejudiced or corrupt, right? But the important thing, the key thing, was that that project was done, and it was done well, and it was done in a way that it will last, and there will be money to maintain it.
Awesome.
After. That's the difference. In the Nigeria or African context, they'll tell you the project is 2 million naira. Then they will take the whole 2 million naira and put it in their pocket. The project will not be done. Period. And eventually, we, the people that come and hail the project, we forget about it, and we go back to the bush.
Exactly.
Defecating in the bush.
Exactly.
So where do we start holding ourselves accountable?
Okay. Well, what would you say about the corruption that often gets into even these little empowerment or initiatives that are introduced by our government?
Yes, I think we'll have to leave the government aside.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that they are not responsible to do what they need to do, or we don't need to hold them. But I think we need to look at the masses, look at ourselves, the women, look at, and ask ourselves, are we actually doing the right thing? Because when it comes to governance, we are also part of it. We elected these people,
Yes.
we put them there. They didn't jump.
They didn't.
We enabled them to get there, whether by selection or election.
Not just enabled them, we ennobled some of the corrupt activities.
Exactly.
Too.
So we enable them either by selection or election, either way, but they're there representing us. So we need to hold them accountable. But the challenge now is that we don't have one voice. Okay, we say, this was supposed to come to our constituency, a project that is supposed to come to, taking for example the public restrooms. We're supposed to have these things everywhere, but we don't have them in Nigeria, and I'm sure billions of naira have been
in
quoted.
somebody's budget.
Yes, exactly.
And it's replicated. They are not saying it's replicated, and nothing is
every
done.
administration come and they tell you, okay, this is a project, and we'll come back again and say, hey, yes, it's going to do it for us. And at the end of the day, we don't see this project done, and we don't go back to ask questions.
Exactly.
A few persons will say, okay, I'm representing all of you, so let's go ask these guys why they haven't done this project. And then they go there, sit with the government or whoever is in charge, and then, hey, this project is supposed to be done. They say, yeah, we know, but things happen, so just take this envelope, oh, you're doing well.
And in all honesty, you can't take an envelope and come back and be a whistleblower.
So the person goes back and say, hey, don't worry, they're actually doing this project, but something, just cook up a story, and then maybe give you 1,000 naira each and say, go home, go feed your children Gary, and then we're fine. And that's the end of it.
Okay.
So, like you said, corruption is it's a cycle. And
well, if we do not fix our institutions, we all, like you said, we all have that we are all corrupt in some way. If institutions are not fixed, that's where you see it thrive. But at this moment, we'll go for a short break. When we return, we'll get into the businesses of the ladies here and what challenges they have both faced or the successes they have also recorded. We'll be back after the short break. This is still Joy Asanya Live, thriving in business as a woman. That's what we've been discussing. And I think we'll just start with Edith, the CEO, Ketani. I hope I'm getting it right.
You're trying.
Right. So, Edith, we've all had our instinct in business. I mean, I'm sure you have recorded some successes and the challenges, especially factoring in the Nigerian business environment. So, tell us what your business is about and the challenges you faced, especially working with young people in your industry.
Well, I mean, I have not yet really gotten anywhere. I just arrived in Nigeria some months back. I'm still in the growing phase. I think more of my challenge has been in the registration process. You know, as you were talking about Nigerian institutions previously. But outside of that business, you know, I've been working with women and youth. And it's a learning phase. And in order to be able to really do my business, I have to acclimate to the situation, to the environment, to where I'm at. So for me, I'm in a learning phase in order to be able to grow my business and to be able to establish my business. But basically, my business is in general services contracting. With a focus on women businesses, helping women to scale, to do their business, and to get access to places where they normally would not have access to. So I'm in the learning phase, still trying to grow, still trying to pick things and, you know, be a bit more concise as to exactly which path I am following. Yeah.
So what experience have you had trying to register? I mean, the government has been telling us how in the bid to be, in the bid to promote ease of doing business in Nigeria, registration is no longer that the difficult and all of that. But you are in that process. So would you say Nigerians are indeed still going through harrowing experiences, just getting their business names registered?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much of that I can really say experience-wise.
Oh, you're one of the people that have connects?
I have not.
I know them.
I don't have, you know, previous Nigerian experience in registering a business. So what I'm experiencing right now compared to, let's say, what I have experienced, you know, back in the U.S., the clarity is not there. So that would be my main issue. Right. The clarity is not there. The explanation of the process is not there. And, you know, let me be very honest. Yes, I find my connection. I let them do it for me, because the once or twice that I try to do it on my own, the clarity, it gets very confusing. And when you go there trying to talk to people and they hear you talk different, or you have a different accent, everything becomes distracted. You know, we're constantly moving off the target conversation or the process and going in a different direction. So that's, you know, some of the challenges I face. So for that reason, I find where I can get it done. And for me, I try to go through the proper channels, of course. So I hired a lawyer. Yeah, I hired a lawyer to help me with the process, you know, because I like to quantify everything. So I quantify my time, I quantify the level of stress, plus how much money, right? You know, so when I put all of that together on paper and I'm looking at it, I just say, you know, let me just get a lawyer.
I'll come back to you, because that's what some of us face. And, you know, there are several women in rural environments that may not be able to be so fortunate to hire a lawyer, and yet they want to upscale in their business. That's a conversation I'll come back to. Let's get to Jesney Farms. Jesney Farms, I mean, Jesney Farms does a lot. We call her the trendy farmer,
because we're not sure we can use the other one.
We're not sure we can use the other one. For a split second there I was about to, but the trendy farmer. You know, when you see Ijeoma out of here, you might not recognize. You look different. Yes, I mean, you have your
my jeans, my sneakers on, and my face cap. I don't think this week. I'm actually waiting for this show to be over.
Okay, so Jesney Farms is into farm management consulting, farmland setup, poultry farm setup, agro-technology, and so much more. However, what are the challenges you have faced in doing this? And first of all, I must commend you. You're one of them women I want to be like when I grow up.
Okay. We're all grown up. We're all grown. We're still growing. I'm still growing.
But the agricultural sector.
Yes. You know, I like to tell people that farming was never my passion, my first love. you know, when it comes to career path. I never saw it in my nearest future. But all I knew growing up was I wanted to create jobs. You know, growing up, thankfully my dad had a library, you know, so I encountered books that opened my eyes and my, you know, to business. So at very young age, I think my junior secondary school, I started reading business books, courtesy of my dad, you know, and then that was when I knew there's a gap when it comes to young people in business after school. You know, the headache is, where do I go to from here? And then you see people study agriculture, they find themselves in the banking sector and all. So I had to tell myself from the onset that I need to
be intentional,
exactly, and be part of the solution to the problem and not be the problem, you know. So that's my journey into agriculture, but I just happened to find myself there. So, and being that I didn't study agriculture in school, and I had to learn the hard way. Like my sister rightly mentioned, we don't have a clear path. You want to start up a business today, you know, you can't, you know, go online or maybe go see, you don't know the right person to go meet to get mentorship. You need to scan through, okay, where do I need to, you know, we used to have this career stuff in school. They tell you it's career day or something. You want to be a doctor, you want to be, but you can't hear someone say I want to be a farmer. Okay, who is that mentor, who is that person you need to look up to if you want to be a farmer? So I had to learn the hard way. You know, I made the mistakes. I made the seed capital I had from the government, thankfully, after youth service, 300,000 naira at the time. I lost almost everything. But like I always tell people, I have this pride. I don't want to be counted as those that lost out in business or anything. So I had to push back. You know, my parents didn't like it at the time because, you know, I studied geology, for crying out loud. I had very nice 2-1. You know, I had nice prospects. You should be in the oil and gas, you know, doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then I came back home and said, hey, I'm a farmer. My dad was like, that was a nightmare for him. You know, he was heartbroken for over a year, you know, thinking about that. But so I didn't have that support in the beginning. I didn't have that mentorship, and that is that's what we're doing in Jesney Farms. You know, I tell people we want to make farming attractive to young generation.
Right.
You know, the younger generation to see that it's not just farming, going to farm with a whole
knife, right?
There's a whole lot in the value chain of agribusiness, not agriculture, that you can plug yourself into, and you don't get your fingers dirty, but you're making crazy money from agriculture.
You don't get your fingers dirty in the agribusiness.
You mustn't.
Okay.
You mustn't.
Okay, so somebody like me who is spoiled, who will not want my fingers dirty. What was that value chain you would like to share?
Let me clearly tell you something. Like someone like you are in journalism. You have agri-journalism.
Okay.
You can do reports on agriculture, agribusiness. I see, I can't remember her name, but she's on YouTube. All she does is move from place to place, go to your warehouse. Oh, okay, this is sesame seed warehouse. They have a lot of bags here, and they are loaded If you want to, sesame seed is grown in this part of Nigeria, and then she makes the report, and she's making money on YouTube.
Exactly. But my question to you right now would be, has it been worth it? You know, delving into the agricultural sector.
Absolutely.
Is it? Would you compare it to the oil and gas, for instance, that your parents would have preferred? Of course.
I wouldn't trade this opportunity for anything. Don't get me wrong, I had my challenges. Like sometimes I wake up and I ask myself, what does it look like to have a paycheck at the end of the month? It's beautiful, you know, when someone is paying the bills.
Right.
You know, you don't have to break your head thinking about where the next meal is going to come from. You know, so for me, it's been worth it. The challenges have been, I wouldn't call them problems, but the challenge has been positive. I see the positive side of it. You know, so it's amazing for me, you know, and the journey so far. So a mentor told me something. He said, you don't connect the dots looking forward, you connect the dots looking backwards.
Right.
So looking backwards and connecting the dots, those times I cried, those times, you know, I walked alone, it's been worth it. Seriously, it's been worth it. The journey, see, someone said something, he said, there's no business without a challenge. Setting up a business, especially in Nigeria,
there's always
a challenge. You need to pat yourself at the back and say, hey, I've done a good job. But at the end of it, what's the learning point for you? for me, it's not profit all the time. I ask myself, are you growing in the process?
Right.
So the young people need to understand that there's always a process to things.
And what has it been like working with young people, especially with you who you don't mind getting your hands dirty? A lot of the Gen Zs these days, do they really want to get their hands dirty?
Well, let me, I'm one of her biggest fans. She knows it. I mean, I cannot hail her enough in what she's doing. While she was talking, you had pictures of people in the farm, and that is what Gen Z see. Those tired, working people, tattered clothing, brown teeth, ashy feet, broken calluses, whatever you want to call it. That's what they see. So they are not attracted to it. They don't want to do it because they don't want to look like that, because that is what they associate with farming. That's why we call her trendy. Well, yes, the trendy farmer. And just like she said, agro business, not agriculture, because there's so much to it. From the seed, forget the seed, from tilling the ground, you understand, all the way to the final product. There's so much in between that you can come into, like she said, agro journalism. That's a huge thing. That's a huge one, right? So it's actually something that I love working with her on, because I do have that background, farming and whatnot. So she has taught me a lot, about agribusiness, about the different aspects of it and where you can come into it outside of being in the farm sweating, your back bent over, and having so I mean, there's so much to it, and we put up faces like hers to encourage the youth, to let them know. And I mean, what's wrong with getting your hands dirty anyway, right? Anyway, exactly. Why? Because no matter what humanity is going through, we still have to eat.
That's the one profession that never goes out of fashion.
Exactly. And one time I think we had a meeting, a roundtable meeting, and we had some House of Rep members there, and I think they left at a point, but one of the ministers was around, and I said, we need to thank the farmers.
Yes.
Seriously, when we talk about heroes, or we're celebrating fallen heroes, we need to celebrate farmers.
Yes.
People are losing their lives on the farm just to put food on our table.
Especially in Nigeria.
Especially here in Nigeria. So we need to consciously, intentionally celebrate farmers and not look at them as people that are forgotten and all that. We have food on our table today. A farmer made it happen.
Yes.
So it's not about where, or I tell people, if they care to listen, that farming is an honorable business.
Yes.
And you can get paid really well. So whether you're in the upstream, you're in the upstream, midstream, downstream, whatever part of the agribusiness you plug yourself in, it's an honorable business. And there's a whole lot. It's $1 billion business.
Is it still $1 billion with the many challenges the Nigerian
I dare say, we're looking at the global scale right now, so I dare say it's $1 trillion business.
Yes.
Right. So even in the face of challenges here in Nigeria, we are also here, encouraging people to go into what we call smart farming. You can farm in your house. You can farm in this studio. In fact, just in this studio, you can actually do the vertical farming here in your studio. So farming has gone beyond what we know in the villages. Exactly. People are doing amazingly well with this. So it's just for us to give ourselves to research, learning, mentorship, and we can do a whole lot with farming. You must not go there are soilless farming. That hydroponics, people do aquaponics, aeroponics, people do, you can imagine, when you talk about the value chain in farming, like today we had a conference, and one of the ladies I respect too, she's into the coconut farming, and then you look at the different products you can get from coconut. Can you see that fibrous part of the coconut we tear apart and throw away? You can use them to make cocoa pits. That's the medium for farming. So instead of you digging soil somewhere to put in bags and farm in your house, you can use these things to farm, even rice husk. So you can see there's no waste in agriculture. All those things we throw away, we can actually repurpose them for something else. So there's a whole lot the young people can do, but we need to show them that, hey, there's something here.
I mean, you're the trendy farmer. I mean, how has it been attracting these young people? When they meet you, I mean, I'm looking at you right now. It's difficult for me to, you know, place you in a farm, especially with the kind of the idea we have of a typical farmer.
Exactly.
So, what's the first question they ask? Are they really interested?
Well, you know, there's this shock on the face, like you don't look like a farmer. You know, apart from the young people, even those people that are into farming. You know, one time I went to see you know, a land I hope to use for my farming, and then the guy that was supposed to go show me the land, you know, so who is the person looking to farm? You know, I'm like, I'm the one. I'm like, come on. He took my farm and looked at it and said, no, your farm doesn't feel like you farmed before. But you know, there's a video, I don't know, a young lady on I think somewhere in the US or so, she owns kilometers of farm. Yeah, she's in her 20s, and you see her on her, you know, combined harvesters telling you, oh, we're harvesting this wheat here, we're harvesting. She is just 20 something. She's in school and she has a farm. But here we don't see it as something worth doing. You can actually be in school and have your farm, and it doesn't interfere with your studies. You know, and it's high time the government looked into, you know, catching these young people young, start making them see that, hey, you don't have to wait for the government to give you jobs. You can actually get into agribusiness and do a whole lot with it, even in technology.
Right.
We have a lot of technological inputs in agriculture. We have precision farming. We have blockchain in farming. You know, you can be on a computer and then you're doing something and you're connecting a farmer to the market. You can actually have an e-commerce platform strictly on agro produces, you know, and all that. There's a whole lot to be done. So, but we need to enlighten these young people. So that's what we're doing, and we hope a lot of people get into this, and also create platforms through which you can actually. Thank you for making us do this. Listen to us, we want to, you know, look into agribusiness. Just listen to us talk about the different aspects, so you know it's not just about going to the farm and all that. You can plug yourself in the middle. You can go into exports. Export is over $5 billion worth of business in Nigeria. We export our raw produces. Why don't we add value to it and export them?
Do we though? How well do we export our raw produces? Right? You have containers that come full
and
to Nigeria, but they have to literally fill the containers with sand, because you know when the containers on the ship, the balancing. So instead of taking products out, they have to fill it with sand.
I read that some time ago, and I found it very concerning that we had nothing to send back.
There's a report I saw while I was preparing for a training I had with some group of persons, and the report is we are the highest producers of cassava. Nigeria is #1 producer of cassava. But guess what? When it comes to exports, we are 59.
I saw that report as well.
And I think 2022 we only exported cassava worth $1.02 million. But we're producing, and then look at the end of the report. The cassava we produce here in Nigeria, we end up making into gari and swallow. So all we care about is what
our stomach.
Is our stomach.
But that's not even a bad thing if we understand the business of it.
Exactly.
You know, and
but
so far it doesn't seem like.
Okay, check it. We import ethanol and sorbitol, which is a byproduct
of cassava.
So why don't we set up these, you know, industries close to source? And
coincidentally, I also stumbled on that particular report, and you saw the only person who was even doing something about it, just one woman.
Exactly. What was the part of the report? Is it Malaysia or Singapore?
That
they only have 3%.
Thailand or something.
And they make 50-something billion a year. cassava.
So we need to start looking at agriculture as a business.
Yes.
The problem is we're not seeing it as a business. So that's why we don't look at adding value to what we're doing.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how small it is. You know, during the conference, someone said you go out there on the streets and then you buy kuli for maybe 500 naira. You get into the shopping mall, same kuli because the person took time to package it so well. Is selling for 1,500 or what's the difference? It's possible the one out there is sweeter.
Yes.
But because this lady has added value to hers.
You factor in the packaging, the ambience where it's being sold.
You see, you're making more money.
Yes.
So we need to start teaching young people, women, and whoever cares to know that don't just go get farm produce and say, hey, I have this to sell. Add value to it.
And just to add to that, right, you and I had this conversation about utilizing our universities for these things.
Our research and development.
Well, because as I was saying to you, in the US, right, all of these innovations that we admire about the US, a lot of it takes place at the university. You know, the research, like you were saying, a company or the government will think of something, but instead of paying someone to go do it, they go to the university. We have establishments that were created by students for their senior year project, right? As I gave you an example of a juice store called Jamba Juice that was started at my sister's school. It was a senior project by 2 guys, and now Jamba Juice is all over the US and all over Europe. Senior project. That's just one of many
projects.
So this is how you connect with the kids or the students coming out of school. You know, you take it to them, put this idea, research this idea, work this idea. You know, going back to the agriculture sector, for example, University of Abuja, how many hectares of land do they have?
Several.
Imagine, being that this is the seat of government, imagine if the University of Abuja was to be brought in to participate, to bring their students into the research field, to say, let's try this, and this. There's so much that can be done, and that is how you grow these kids coming out of school and giving them something to do and giving them hope. You know, because they started it when they were still in school.
That's true. Oh well, I hope we would someday get it better, but I must appreciate you ladies for what you already do in trying to better yourself. My father will always say, go out there and be better than who you were yesterday, and that is exactly what you represent here. Just me, Farms. Thank you so much, Ketani. Thank you so much for being part of the program. We've been discussing with Edith Bargoma and Ijeoma Ndulue. Ndulue. Thank you, ladies, for being part of the program. My name is Joy Asanye, and this is where we close the curtains on the program today. Rest assured, we'll be back next week with so much more. Have a wonderful weekend.